Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Prismata. Let's jump into the ranked queue and see who we can find. I remembered, by the way, what it was I wanted to look at after the last episode, which was the Executioner badge that I received for that match. And I remembered it was about like doing some large amount of damage. It turns out the amount is 150 total damage. And I never really would have expected to get that badge after opening Fastimus, right? Like turn 2 Animus is not an opening that usually leads itself to a game where you can do 150 damage because it argues for like low econ, right? If you're going turn 2 Animus, you're not going to be building that many attackers. You won't be able to build that much defense. How could you put out 150 damage in a game like this where you only got 11 drones? And actually I think the answer is like that my opponent didn't go like particularly high econ, right? Just 16 drones. But there's a ton of efficient soak in this set, right? Like, Infusion Grid is pretty efficient. Polywall is like top-notch soak. Blood Pact is soak for both of us, right? Like, whichever one of us builds a Blood Pact, he gets to survive more damage. And of course, so do I, but we're counting whether I did 150 damage, right? Which either one of us building a Blood Pact increases that number. Hellhound, meh. I mean, it gives you an engineer, that's a little bit of soak. But, like, everything in this set that we built was centered around, like, soaking up damage, right? So, maybe I shouldn't be too surprised that I did a lot of damage in this game, but I was surprised. Now that I thought about it, I understand why. I mean, we did... Both of us almost emptied the Blood Pacts, which is pretty nuts. He almost emptied the Polywalls. That's pretty crazy. Alright, well, I would love to play against another player, but it looks like for now we're waiting in the queue. What's going on? I looked up these games briefly. This one's new, I guess. In between recording episodes, I looked at some of those games. Well, Yotsuba has an Odin, and Hatharo doesn't, so that's an argument in favor of Yotsuba. I think by clicking Odin here, he aims to prevent Hatharo from ever buying an Odin, is my guess. Will it work? I'm not sure. It seems good, like you're killing the enemy Steel Splitter, right? Like, you're doing 4 damage, which is killing Engineer plus Steel Splitter. And the only downside is you lose a Steel Splitter. You don't even lose Absorb. So it must be right. Hayali in base plus 10. I'm player 1. Now, I believe Thermite Core is actually a good way to get into Odin. But also there's Venge Cannon plus Cluster Bolt, which is pretty serious. Those seem like the two competing strategies here to me. Is like trying to go Odin with a Thermite Core, which I've done before and seems to work pretty well. Like you can fit a Thermite Core into the player 1 Odin without too much difficulty. Or try to go Breach Proof with Venge Cannons and Cluster Bolts and Gauss Charges. And I think that that's better. I'm gonna give that a try. Oh my god, am I still in the 152nd queue? Good lord. Oh, I thought I got out of that queue. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do this. And then, like, triple Conduit next turn. See what he does, actually. I don't want to go for Odin, so I'm not getting a 3rd Engineer. But how aggressively I move into Venges may depend on whether he gets a 3rd Engineer. No. Okay. So, like, what about this? Is this good? Next turn you can drone Conduit, and you'll get 3 plus 4 plus 5, which is 12. I've done this before, and it works out reasonably well for a 4 Venge start. I wonder if you should build a Venge Cannon early here. Stop them from building, like, more... No, I think so. It's gonna make it a bit harder to convert all of these, but I think that's fine because we get the advantage that we're destroying his stuff quicker this way, right? We get to his engineers. I think I should try this. If he responds by building a Blast Forge, some of this attack will be wasted soon, so that's an argument against. But I think that that's, like, okay. Because he's not making progress towards the Venges, which I think are good. This is going to reduce the amount of access I have to green in the long game, though. Right? Which I like a lot of green because of cluster bolts. So I think I'm going to not do that. The advantage that I get out of it is pretty small. And it costs me a lot of green. I'm just going to do this. Okay, so he's getting a Blast Torch. Even though I'm not threatening the Venge right away. I like that. So what am I doing? Just 3 more conduits next turn to get me more cluster bolts? Or do I try to make my way up to 15 drones? I guess it depends. Interesting. Well, 3 Gauss charges would make my life a little awkward. I'd have to force field, but I think it would be overall in my favor for him to do that. Okay, 1 Venge Cannon. So this is, like, overall not that big a problem for me, right? I can just... It means that I won't be getting 5 Venges. Because I don't really want to, like, drone NG and then drone, right? Like, okay, let's say I wanted to get 5 Venges. It would look like this, right? Drone NG conduit. Have access to 5. Next turn, build a drone. But I then have trouble protecting these 2 drones, right? See, I don't think that's a great idea. What if I just, like, get this conduit? This brings me to 12. And, like, that's obviously not so great, right? So just build a bunch of conduits. Convert everything to Venges next turn with my 14. And throw in a Gauss cannon, and then later some cluster bolts. I think that seems all right. So my advantage will be that I have my Venges sooner, and that I have access to cluster bolts. No thanks. I would rather save that green to build 2 cluster bolts next turn. I could build an NG. Ah, I won't be able to build 2 cluster bolts next turn because he's breaching to kill one of these anyway. Right? He has literally no choice but to destroy a conduit, so... something like this. I could build a Nevo charge. 8, 9... But he's just gonna, like... Actually, maybe a Nevo charge is pretty good. Because he can only convert 3 more drones this turn. I'm threatening 9 damage. and freezing a wall. So he has 2 defense right now. He'll have to build 7 more. A wall is just 2. Because you want to absorb with it, not soak with it. And so he has to build 4 force fields. This guarantees a breach. Well, he could hold back some drones, I guess. It guarantees I kill some drones. Which would be nice. But the number of drones that he has is like not... He wouldn't mind losing 1. And if I do this... I still have 2 cluster bolts next turn anyway. I still have 1, rather. Which is the most I was going to get anyway. And he can't just venge up his drones, I think, and still build a wall to defend, right? Because I'm threatening 9... Oh, 9 damage, not 7. Nevo threatens a lot of drones. He has 2. He has to build 7 more. Right. That's wall. Plus... Okay. Well. I don't know if it was that drastic. That's what happens when you spend your time bank. I didn't even get to the time bank, right? Like, I was just using up the time for that turn. There you go. Got the opponent to resign without ever attacking them. I should get out of this 150-second queue. That's just too much time for me to spend. I think it was an interesting decision what to do that turn. This Nevo charge... I don't know. He can prevent a breach with wall triple force field. But that's pretty desperate, right? And then the next turn I'll be cluster bolting him. I think it would win, but a Gauss charge might also win. I don't know. Okay, who wants some numbers? 44.9 thousand. We're almost up to 45,000. Incredible. Who knows what that means? Okay, so I would like to see... You're supposed to be able to trade, like, I thought 40 power cores. But I guess you have to, like, unlock enough stuff. I've talked about this before. I don't... Ugh. I hate having to spend power cores. It takes forever, and, like, you just get nothing you want. Okay, whatever. Hey! Oh, look! Rank 99. We did it. We're in the top 100. And nearly at 1800, which would also be quite nice. Get out of the 150-second queue. I still don't like redeemers. Alright, well, let's just start another ticket. Temron versus Hatharo. Yotsuba versus the Trump Wall. That should be interesting. I would not have expected triple blue to be the way anybody goes here. I mean, that's not... I don't know. Electivores seem pretty threatening, but I guess... I don't know. Defense grid might be enough to defend against them, and, like, Galvani drone sort of conflicts with Electivore. They both use the same resource. You'd sort of like to get a defense grid and then put Lucina behind it. But that's going to be pretty tough to do, isn't it? Like, do you get a third Animus here? I think that could be a legitimate play. Okay, or are we getting a Reservoir, or what? Next turn, obviously, we're killing 2 Galvani's because the attack's just getting absorbed. But I don't know. We're killing Galvani's, right? You gotta. Kill the Galvani's! You're killing me! I know he's gonna do it. I'm just so nervous he's gonna forget. Okay. Windsor. Windsor behind defense grid. Now that is interesting. Yotsuba should have some trouble defending, I think. Right? It's very red. And I guess the access to Pixies makes defense grid stronger because it's not such a big deal to be tied up, have a bunch of blue tied up. This guy's loading very slowly. I hope we get to play him. I also wish I could keep watching that old game while I wait for my opponent to load. Okay, we made it. Greetings, Z Nemesis. I mean, Venges are a thing, but also Colossus is a thing, and Arms Race. Those are the two things that I'm gravitating to here. And with Steelforge, Colossus is a bit cheaper. Also, Arms Race kind of synergizes because it uses the same tech. But, I mean, Venges are pretty strong. They have access to Aegis, but you, like, usually can't actually spend that because you convert your drones. I guess you could use Aegis to prolong the time before you convert your drones to attack, maybe? I like player 2 here, I think. Get that conduit, right? And he's not really committed to anything yet. I don't like red first very much. Well, actually, it's fine. If he goes too hard into Venges, like if he, say, builds several more conduits here, or even like one more, I'm gonna open with Grimbotches to start like pressuring his drones before he's ready to convert. And then I'll have defenders available about the time when he actually does convert. And if he doesn't do that, then like a couple of Tarsiers are fine. And I can try to get into Colossus's eventually. Okay, so he just wants to go Arms Race into Colossus also. Very well. I think cut these drones to build Steel Splitter Animus, probably. I don't have nearly enough drones to ever build Colossus. I don't really know what I'm thinking here. Why I think I'll ever be able to build a Colossus is a mystery. I guess I'm just like going... I don't know what the plan is here. This is like a classical Grimbotch rush, except that I spent $4 on a conduit for some reason. Like to have access to Aegis's or Venge Cannons, maybe, is my argument? Alright, this is a bit more rushy than I meant to be. I should have built like Animus Double Drone instead of Animus Conduit, I think. If I wanted to go with the Arms Race strategy anyway. So, Colossus is already, huh? I think we're gonna see if I can bully him into not attacking with this Steel Splitter, let me get out the Blast Forge. Right? Like, he has to lose 2 Engies here, which is uncomfortable, and I'm threatening 6 damage. If he wants to build a Colossus next turn, we're actually breaching. No, he can build a Force Field. I guess. That can't be very comfortable though, can it? And I'll build an Arms Race. At any rate, he can't attack with the Steel Splitter if he's doing whatever he wants to do. Double Arms Race is a thing, I guess, that he could try? I wouldn't mind being given some Engineers. I think I'm going to try this. I think I'm playing this game wrong, but might as well carry on with what I'm doing. I feel like he should have attacked with his Steel Splitter. Yeah, double Arms Race. Okay. But you can't do that. That's what these Grimbotches were about. Oh, whoa, no, are you committing this? Error. Wrong. I don't think you should have done that. Hang on, is this really the right idea for me? He really would love some Engineers, wouldn't he? So what could I do instead? Venge Cannon? I'm not absorbing anything this way, which really sucks. I think this should be a wall. Which makes the Venge Cannon not so great. It should just be another Grimbotch. I can maybe Venge later once like I already have defense available. Yeah, see, this is... He'd really love some Engineers here so that he's granular. That is why an Arms Race last turn was a bad idea. And we're in a similar spot here in terms of like being able to spend my tech. Actually, though, I can do this. He doesn't mind the Engineers at this point, of course, but I think it's worth it to get, like, just some more stuff on the board. Yeah, empty those Arms Races, I guess. That is making my Grimbotches worse, sort of. Yeah? I don't know. I mean, he's losing a lot of the attackers he's building with these Arms Races. Which doesn't seem like great value to me. I mean... That's better, right? Because he's going to be doing enough damage that this guy's definitely getting value anyway. Yeah, I can't spend all my tech anymore. Arms Race is pretty okay at that. But again, he really wants these defenders, doesn't he? Still, I need some permanent attack, I think. Like, since my Grimbotches are dying. I'm not so thrilled about where it's going. Yeah, I just don't want to give him any more Engineers. I'm gonna build this and give up the Gauss Cannon in order to not give him those Engineers. I think the Tarsier probably should have been a Grimbotch. I don't know. It's like, you shouldn't really transition from Grimbotches into Tarsiers typically, right? Because as the game goes on, Tarsiers get worse and Grimbotches get better. I think I was wrong to do it. I was doing it kind of because I'm like, I feel like I need permanent attack. But I don't. I just need, like, attack. Ooh, Shiver Yetis. That's pretty good threat against all my Grimbotches. But are you actually going to be able to keep it alive? Like, if I don't attack with everything, you can. So I guess I'll just attack with everything. I'm losing Grimbotch value. You win. Sure. But I don't mind attacking a bit more, I guess. What? No. You don't absorb onto Shiver Yeti if I'm not even holding back the Grimbotch. I mean, it's nice to have one around to block, to threaten to freeze a Grimbotch next turn as well, but you could absorb onto Steel Splitter and then build a Shiver Yeti, and you'd just, like, have more stuff. Yeah. He should be building an Aegis at some point? Like, instead of one of these walls? He doesn't have enough money for that. Instead of both walls is not such great value. Yeah, and then Force Field, I guess? Feels pretty bad. And now I can get actual Grimbotch value because he doesn't have a Shiver Yeti. And I think I'll build a Venge Cannon as well. Just keep scaling the pressure upwards. But my Grimbotches are dying off, so I don't know. This defends. And then Steel Splitter, no. Double Grimbotch, Venge Cannon. I don't think you can possibly get a Shiver Yeti this turn. There's definitely some danger that these Venge Cannons are hurting my economy enough that I'll eventually get breached and lose Tarsiers, but I think they're putting enough pressure on him that he's in so much trouble that he needed to resign. Cool, so streak bonus, 6 wins. We got just 2.8 for this one, much lower than we've been getting recently. The players, the last few players we've played have been in the mid-1800s. This guy, I guess, must have been substantially lower. Probably 1600s. And I don't know, my build was pretty stupid. I just like, when Arms Race is in the set, I just get all like starry-eyed, even though it's not really that great. And I build too much tech early, and like here I cut drones. You just like, you can't cut drones if what you want is the Colossuses, I don't think. And I should know better. And I sort of had to transition into like red stuff, plus like use my green for Venge Cannons. But that was a big, big early investment to eventually get 2 attack that lets me, in exchange for losing 3 drones. Not really all that great a deal, to be honest. I think his arms races were not that great, but they maybe weren't terrible. Because, like, how badly do I want defenders? At the time he built the first arms race, I did not want defenders, and so I think it was, like, good value. Except that he couldn't afford it because he's getting breached here, right? And I think that that makes it clearly not worthwhile. But one arms race plus, like, I don't know, Steel Splitter. Like, I don't know, he can't really do it. He just has like a little bit too much tech and not enough drones and not enough defense. Which is why I didn't build an arms race here, right? It would have made things way too good for him for me to build an arms race. Yeah, and then, I don't know, yeah. The Grimbotch pressure was real. The Venge Cannon pressure was real. One arms race was sort of a questionable play. When did I get it, by the way? Was it actually good at the time? I got it here. Why? Not sure. I think I felt bad about it at the time, didn't I? I guess I got it just because it spends all my tech, and that's pretty cool. There's something to be said for that, I suppose. But he let himself get exploited on defense again. I guess this, by the way, the fact that he did this twice should tell me that he needs engineers even more than his position would argue, because he seems to keep making the mistake of getting under granular, right? And giving him engineers fixes the mistakes he's making, in addition to just being like generally good for his position. So that's another argument against, I guess. But we got the win. You know, that's fine. I'll take it. And we are rank 93 with a 6-game win streak. How lovely. That was the second game this episode, right? Yes, we played this episode. Cool. Well, that means we are done. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.